All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Jacob Brown, co-founder USA Health Plans. It's good to be here for open enrollment. It's always the most exciting time of the year for me, or hopefully for you as well, for all of us. So I know many of you may be new to an open enrollment with us, and that's great. Welcome. I mean, I know that we've been pretty quiet to the field over the last 6 to 8 months. A lot of that's been because of our recent partnership with North American Insurance Services to really kind of expand our capacity for everyone and for broker service and all of that. And, I know we have about, several hundred new agents that have come on board with us this summer, which is really exciting. And then I know that there are a number of you on the call who have been with us for probably close to 8 open enrollments now, because this year marks the 8th open enrollment for the USA Health Plans platform. Time flies, huh? So welcome back. And, same story, different open enrollment. We just keep making this thing better and better and better and beefing it up so you can make more money and sell more product. So if someone can throw me just a thumbs up in the chat box, if someone can hear okay. I see a couple people saying they can't hear, so if anyone can say that they can hear me, please. Yep. So in the chat box, the instructions. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Viewer 18, you can hear me fine. Great. So I will keep going then. All right. So what we're going to talk about today really is exclusively the group platform that we've been building for you to be able to run with going forward. Some of the stuff that's on here is not new. Some of it is new. What is new today is really the mechanism and how we're setting you up to quote, enroll, all of that stuff. And to be able to do it with a lot of speed and to be able to solve, a lot of problems for small group and large group out in the field. Now, primarily our business model has been individual, which we have segued more into group over the last several years. And I'll tell you, from an administrative standpoint, where we sit in the piece of this pie, group is so hard because it has so many manual touches. The whole industry is still manual. All the groups are set up manually. The files are all manual, all of that. And so what I'm really excited about today is it's unfortunate it's taken us this long to figure out how to make it a little bit more streamlined for you, but the goal is to help you be able to move with speed. And so we've made a number of adjustments, which I think is going to be really impactful for you in the field, just to be able to move with speed and go. And I will tell you, I am really excited about really the full launch of this group platform, because I really believe that there'll be more money made here over the next 2 to 3 years than anyone has made on our individual platform over the last 8 years or so. And so I'm excited to see those of you that are going to have some success with that. So to jump right in, I'm really going to focus on the benefits at a high level. I'm going to focus on where they apply, how you enroll them, and how you make money. Okay, so when you're looking at the enrollment screen in front of you, this should be on everybody's enrollment sites. All the updates should be pushed down, so these should be live for you. If not, after the call, you can just shoot something into support, and we can make sure that the updates get passed down to you. But the group platforms are exclusively sitting here on the top of your enrollment, right? Everything else down below is all individual, and individual, we're not going to talk about that today. That's tomorrow's call. Encourage you to join back in for that. So when you're looking at these three, you'll see we have the Group MEC non-insurance. That platform is not stood up yet. That will be pushed sometime in November. Really, that side, that platform, just so you know, is going to be built for, non-core medical benefits, more like office visits, maybe some ancillary wraps, some non-insurance stuff that's got really low price points. So when you're getting into groups that have like high turnover, part-timers, restaurants, stuff like that, where they just want to be able to give someone drug cards, some office visits, maybe an accident plan, stuff like that, those are going to be more of those group bundles we push there. Not the immediate need today, because that business is always going to be there. The immediate need today is core medical, major medical, all of that for, the the employer-sponsored market, which is the primary primary insurance buyer, which is these two here. So I want you to write this down, okay? Because as we go through today's call, I'm going to talk about 3 product types, okay? Now, within these 3 product types, there's a number of different plans, and I do not want you to get lost on that because there's really only 3 product types. The first one is major medical. The second one is MVP. And the third product type, core health. So, major medical, MVP, core health. Now, within those product types, there's just small variances between each plan, right? But if you can walk away from today understanding what each product type means, where each product type applies, and how you enroll each product type, that's how you're going to have success. And I realize that we're not going to get everything out on today's call. We'll be doing more calls in the future. And, I encourage you, if you do have some extra questions and need a lot more in-depth stuff, it's best, most of you have interacted with Alex at some point, it's best to get on his calendar and he can kind of walk you through some of the extra fine print stuff to keep you going here. So we're going to start with major medical. Why? Well, because most people in the United States are insured by major medical, right? That's kind of the standard in the industry, and that's really the bar, if you will. But, the reason why we're going to talk about other product types is because not every group or every employer can afford major medical, and not everybody can qualify, right? So there's a significant need for other products, which we'll talk about, but I want to start here and work our way backwards. So when we look at the major medical platform we put up, there's a really key piece I want you to take away from this. 1, USA Health Plans is in the business of producing binding final underwritten rates. We are not in the business of producing quotes. And that makes this platform a little bit different than other platforms you've worked with, right? A lot, in the past, you go and you gather the census and you log into an insurance portal and you import it and they give you a rate based on that group's zip code and blah, 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 and it comes back and it's just a quote, and then you go present it, and then you go to final underwriting, and then it's different, you know that whole story, right? We're doing our best here to take all of that out of the sales process. Why? Because it's such a waste of time. It really is. So let's focus on producing final finding underwritten rates and getting the employer to that point as quick as possible. So what we've done is I want you to look at major medical in 2 formats. It's groups 2 to 9, and it's groups 10 plus, okay? I'll make this real easy. The plans and the benefits between 2 and 9 and 10 plus, they are the exact same. The only literal difference is price and how it's underwritten, okay? Because for employer groups 2 to 9, we do still need to have the old-fashioned medical, PHQ medical applications on each employee applying for coverage, all right? But for groups 10 plus, we no longer need medical apps. We're literally just doing census-based underwriting. You're going to get us a census, and we are going to produce a binding final underwritten rate based on the census. And that's about as good as it gets, because when you're going to these employers 10 plus, they don't have time to sit here and waste over hypotheticals. I'm going to get a census. I'm going to come back with a binding final underwritten rate. You're going to say yes or no. And it's that easy, right? So how do you quote? Again, not my favorite word in our platform, but I've got these pre-underwritten rate sheets for you. So we've got enough data to know what is the average rate that really groups 2 to 9 are getting, and what is the average rate that these groups 10 plus are getting, right? So let's just keep it that simple. So whenever you want to, give someone a proposal, and by the way, I'm going to take a step back. When I'm talking groups 2 to 9, I'm talking the number of employees applying for coverage. When I'm talking 10 plus, it's applying for coverage. I don't care if the group has 25 full-time employees If only 9 are going to be on the plan, then that's a group of 2 to 9. Make sense? As we go through this, you can type questions in the chat box. I'll address them in the best fashion that I can. So look, if we're going to have 2 to 9 employees apply, it's, here's your proposal that you can give to the employer. Really, I'll just go here. Here are the rates. These are the average rates. Now, here is how you should present this. Find the plan you like. Okay, let's say you like the $73.50 copay. And by the way, I don't know if you've noticed or not, this structure right here matches the EBA Cigna PPO we have on the individual side. Same format, nothing's different. Can't make this any easier, right? The only difference is we're sitting here in W-2 group, okay? Individuals are underwritten individually. W-2 employees are underwritten as a group. So, okay, so let's say the employer goes, well, I like the $73.50 copay. Okay, here's the deal. The average rate that we're seeing for employer groups your size is $587 a month, plus or minus $75. So let's just round this thing down. If you can live with, $525 to, or let's just 500 to 700, basically, plus or minus 75. I know my math's totally off there. If you can live with plus or minus 75, let's go to underwriting. If you can't, let's either look at a different product or I'll see you next year. There's no reason to, if someone can look at that and say, if this thing comes back at, even $50 less, it's still not going to do, make a difference for my group, or I'm still not going to buy at $50 less, well, then you're wasting your time, right? Now, that's the best way to quote is just look at the employee-only rate and say, hey, plus or minus 75. If you can live with it, great. Let's move forward. If not, let's look at something else. Now, some groups could come back at $100 more. Some could come back at $150 more. That is possible. But I will tell you, typically, when a group rate is going to exceed $75 more, they're typically just declined. So there's only a few groups that fall in this narrow band where it did come back at 100 greater, it did come back at 125 greater, but it is a narrow band. Most $75 plus exceed the risk threshold for group. So that's about as simple as I can make it. Hope that makes sense. And then, same thing. If we're looking at, 10 or more employees applying, same plans, same everything. Difference is groups 10 plus are going to get a better rate on average. The average rate's here. Hey, you like this plan? It's $534. That's the average rate for groups 10 to 49, plus or minus $75. If you can live with that, all I need is a census, because you got 10 plus employees. We don't even need medical apps. All I need is a census, and I'm going to go find out the exact binding rate for you so you can say yes or no. But if you can't live with plus or minus 75, then there's no reason for either of us to waste our time. You got a group of 50 plus employees, here's the average rate you should expect to see, okay? Plus or minus 75. So it doesn't matter what group you're talking to, use these rates, plus or minus 75, right? So let's talk about, if we look at the plans, and obviously the plans are the same in every format, whether it's 2 to 9, 10 to 49, 50 plus. All we're doing in this 50 plus and these different employee bands for pricing is, your comp's getting shaved in some of these, because as we get into larger and larger group, we just can't have the margins to make full comp like we make in the 2 to 9 zone, right? And you have to get more competitive. Admin costs, we shave admin costs. Underwriting shaves costs because you're just getting larger accounts, you're getting volume. When you're in those 2 to 9 accounts, hey, we're still doing manual applications on the employees. You're spending more time in the group. You got to get paid more. All of us got to get paid more. We're all doing more work there, right? But anyhow, all the plans are the same. So when you look at them, major medical is major medical. A lot of people ask, is this ACA compliant? I mean, it's qualified major medical. I mean, there's no funny business here. This is literally just an ERISA self-funded plan. That's all it is, right? Just no surplus on this plan for the employer. So really the only difference between the plans is, the deductible is a little bit different. The max out of pockets, fairly different. The co-pays are just a little bit different. The HSA plans don't have co-pays, obviously, because they can't. And that's it. Otherwise, they all really function the same, So pretty easy. Major medical is pretty easy. It's pretty boring, really. So let's talk about implementing the plan in a group this size. So if we have groups 2 to 9, you'll use this link right here, submit to underwriting for 2 to 9. Again, medical apps will be required. You can go down to 2 households, as I kind of outlined there. But in groups 2 to 9, the employer can have one plan option available to their employees. All right. So submitting is pretty straightforward. You're going to click submit. We don't need a census. We literally don't need anything, other than your name, your email, the name of the company, the name of the owner, company address, right? Some of these check the boxes here. These are just mechanisms to make sure that we're collecting the information we need to move forward, and you're submitting through the right checkpoints. So understand we're not. This is for employees 9 or less. How many employees do you expect are coming through? This does not have to be exact. Why we're capturing this information is so, because this is a manual process on the back. If we're expecting 9 employees and we can see only one's come through, well, that helps us understand that we need to push the group. But if you're telling us that 7 are coming in and we've got 7, then we know the group's pretty much wrapped up. So it allows us to help, work with you better on the back end. We don't want to include any, no employees need to fill out applications if they're waiving coverage, if they're not going to be part of the plan. We do not care. We literally only need applications on employees who are going to be on the plan. And by that, I mean employees and dependents, right? If they think or they expect that the employee is going to include their dependent on the plan, they need to be listed on the application for underwriting. It is much easier to remove a dependent post-underwriting than it is to add a dependent and have that dependent re-underwritten post-underwriting. You see what I'm saying? So the more that you can set that expectation in the field, the easier, quicker things are just going to be. Right, so choose your effective date. This form, we don't get to just block out which dates. Got to do some extra coding to make that work still, but you obviously can't come in and get a October 1st. We only do the first of the month. It's October 23rd. October 1st isn't available, right? Just tell us what you're looking for. November 1st, December 1st, January 1st. Pick the plan that the employer is applying for. This can change after underwriting. Just in our system, we need something up front to kind of bind this in our system. They can change their plans. Tell us, would you like us to have ancillary plans listed on the list bill for the employer? Do you not? Stuff like that. But anyways, you're going to click submit. When you click submit here, this is going to generate a trigger in our system. So then we go in, we set up the list bill. Once we set up a list bill, we are then going to create a group-specific enrollment link. Now, you're going to hear me say that about 20 times today, group-specific enrollment link. That's because, when you're enrolling individual, you just go to your enrollment link, right? And you enroll all of your individuals through your own personal agent enrollment link. All right. Well, you got to think of the group as the same way, okay? For a group, we have to create a group-specific enrollment link so each employee enrolls through that employer's link. That way we know all of those employees are tied to them. Cool? Hopefully that makes sense. So when so you'll get a list bill back. You'll get a group specific enrollment link back from us, and that's where the employee is going to go complete the application. So I'll show you this. No one's seen this yet. We're launching this week. This is the new EBA underwriting app. This is just an example. It's not a true one. So let's just say, boom, there's their plan. And the health application is now right here, okay? So the employee is going to fill out their information and sign their health application here. And yes, there'll be just like a 2 or 3 minute video that explains a few things on here for the employee to make it easy. So they're going to complete those. Once we have everything, we have everyone that's going to be part of the group, then we're going to go to underwriting. So, underwriting. It's work. We're going to talk about the SBA plans here in a minute, right? So employer groups 10 plus, just to wrap this up. Again, there are no medical apps on employer groups 10 plus, okay? We are doing census-based underwriting, right? We are pulling data from a census, kind of seeing what can be seen out in the hemisphere. It tells us what kind of risks may exist, and a binding final underwritten rate will be produced based on this census. Now, I'm not putting this language here just for fun and games. Pay attention, because if you're submitting stuff to us that's not a full file, we got to kick it back to you, right? For us to be able to underwrite, again, we are in the business of producing binding final underwritten rates. We're not in the business of producing a quote. If we do not have this information on the employer, if we do not have this information on each employee and dependent in the census, we cannot underwrite. We must have employees' full name. We must have employees' date of birth. We must have employees' gender, and we must have their full home address. We have to. If any of those pieces are missing, we cannot send it to underwriting. I get it. Some employers, especially larger ones, may fight with you a bit on that. And hey, if we can't get this information, I'm sorry, we're just not your platform. But here's what I'll tell you. I think you're going to see most underwriting is performed this way over the next 5 years or so. We're just kind of ahead of the curve on it. All right, so we have to have a full employee name, dependent info, address, and we need that information on the dependent as well. So let's just real quick look at this census. It's your obligation to complete this census for us in this format. And if you're sending us a PDF with everybody's information, I mean, we can't sit there and spend all the time converting this for you. You're making all the income on this deal. I mean, that's the one admin piece you're going to have to do. We're going to do a lot of admin in the back to push us across the finish line, but we have to have this format. So let's say you take John Smith, right? That's obviously a fake name. We have to have a real name. You know, we can't have some employers will want to give you just fake names on employees, and we can't do that, right? So let's say John's the employee. He's a 01. His wife's Mary. He'd be a 02. He has one son, Jack. Jack would be a 03. Let's say employee number 2 is Steve. Back to 01, because he's an employee. Now, if he has a spouse, you'd list Steve's spouse right below him, put a 02. You know, if John had 2 kids, Jack and Johnny number 2, 03. See? Awesome. Okay. Again, no different than groups 2 to 9. If we only need the employees and dependents listed on the census who are actually applying for coverage. If you put someone on here that's not going to have, accept coverage, then the underwritten rate is going to be produced based on that person being in the census. If that person was really unhealthy, well, you're going to get artificially high rates for no reason, and you lost the deal. If that person is you know, really healthy. Let's say maybe you're getting artificially low rates. I don't know, the rates aren't going to be correct. So the final rate is going to be based on the census. Now, of course, there's some wiggle room. A person falls off here, a person falls off there, of course. But a good rule of thumb, if the census is going to change by 10%, the final rate reproduced is probably going to change as well. Okay? So just keep that in mind. One person, not necessarily a big deal in a group of 50. One person in a group of 10, that's 10%. That can make a big difference. So try to be as accurate as you can here. Let's talk about this piece right here. Same thing. You're going to submit through this link. It's a different link than 2 to 9. Make sure you're using the 10 plus when you're submitting 10 plus. This piece right here. Okay, so for groups under 50, all we need is this information. If the group is 10 through 49, that's truly the only information we need. You don't need to send us a bunch of stuff. However, I will tell you, if you can get us existing plan docs and you can get us their renewal, groups who provide existing plan docs and renewals typically get lower rates. Okay? We're not going to hold up any deal waiting for this. I'm just telling you, we're in business together, right? Neither of us make money without each other here, and we both make money when business goes on the books. On average, you're going to get a lower rate if you get this information. It's just how a census-based underwriting works. The lower the rate, the better odds you have of closing the deal. So try your best here. Some employers are going to try to hold on to that and not give you that info because the employer thinks, oh, you're going to juice up the comp and make more spreads on me if I show you what I'm paying now. That is not how our business model operates. It's just not. Okay, everything is static. USA Health Plans works for a static fee on each deal. Your comp is static on all these deals. And same from the plan. Our interest is just to create as much spread as we possibly can. The reason this is important is because when you're underwriting from a census, you can see all these data points of risk. Full disclosure, I'm not the underwriter. I'm just very in tune with how this process works with our underwriters, okay? So there's all these data points that can be seen that identify risk within the group. What the data points can't tell us is exactly where the claim is at within that risk. So if we don't have renewal rates and we don't have existing rates and plan docs, then the underwriter has to assume when they see risk in the data, they have to assume that it's day one risk. It's day one of the claim, right? And maybe the claim cycle for that risk is typically a 180-day claim utilization. They have to assume it's day one, right? But by looking at the trend in the renewal rates, then the underwriter is able to see how far along they are in the claim. Because if the renewal rates are, kind of in line, then they can see that claim is done. And then the plan has a lot less risk. And so then we can come in and offer a much lower rate than we would have, having to assume that the claim was on its first day. So I know I'm throwing a lot out there. I'm just trying to help you give you as much ammunition as you can in the field, because it'll help. For groups that are 50 plus, yes, they must have prior coverage, or we will not take them to underwriting. Why? Because these deals don't close. And if you're trying to go into an employer group, a 50 plus, and you're trying to go and no one's got major medical and there's no plan in place, and the employer is now subject to the ACA mandates of penalty A and penalty B, which is 5,000 something, was it 5,800 an employee now? You try to go from zero to fully underwritten major medical, it just doesn't close. One, the employer comes back with sticker shock. Two, You have no idea who's even going to participate in the plan. There is absolutely no foundation of who's joining. And so we would sit here for months going back and forth, adding these people, removing these people, adding these people, removing these people, and readjusting underwriting and readjusting, and no one has time for that. If the group is 50 plus, then the underwriter can see, all right, and we can all see really, there's a foundation in the group. These people we know are going to move over with coverage, right? And so then it gets a lot easier to census-based underwrite and take on that risk. So I'm not telling you to turn down groups 50 plus that don't have coverage. I'm just telling you, you're going to go write the MVP plans with the SBA, right? Plan type number 2, right? Plan type number 1, major medical, where major medical doesn't apply, we move to plan type number 2. All right, let's take a deep breath, stand up. We're halfway through the call, and we're going to go into the SBA plans and how these work. So, okay, real quick, I'm going to look at some questions. Viewer 37, employees applying means not dependent spouse. An employee can apply standalone, and an employee can apply with their spouse and dependents. So if they want their spouse and dependents to be on the plan, they need to be listed on the census for underwriting 10 plus, or they need to be listed on the application groups 2 to 9. Viewer 29 asks, please address if your plans meet the ACA, MEC, and MVP requirements. Everything we're talking about today, well, let me take that back. Plan type 1, major medical that we just talked about, yes. Plan type 2, MVP that we're about to talk about, yes. Viewer 33, who is the insurer? Are the plans PPOs, EPOs, HMO? Hard to tell from the rate sheet. Viewer 33, that's a great question. Sometimes I get ahead of myself because we've been utilizing this plan heavily on the individual market, and it's the same plan. So the plan is a self-insured plan. Serious Point is the reinsurance on the plan, A- rated. We're then using the Cigna PPO network. So all of these plans are static. It's for this model, they're all running through Serious Point for reinsurance, and they're all running on Cigna PPO. And that's the full Cigna network, the employer school union network. It's as good as it gets. And it's, PPO. There's no HMOs or EPOs. 29, how do I get access to the application for submission elsewhere should your rate up be too significant? Have to come back to that one. 29. Get apps. Viewer 35, what happens if an employee wants to add a spouse or child after the fact is submitted? Viewer 35, then we have to go back to underwriting and the rates can change. That's the problem with underwriting. I mean, it's work. I mean, census-based underwriting makes it a lot easier, but it's still work. That's part of the underwriting business. So the most accurate you can be up front, the better. Viewer 29, if we submit you 8 employees and 1 backs out of underwriting, how do the rates change? Will it have to be re-underwritten? Viewer 29, good question. If one person backs out in a group of 8, I mean, that's more than 10%. So it will change rates most likely, not necessarily, just depends on the whole dynamic of the group. And there's no static model here because you could have 8 really healthy employees and you pull one off and who cares? You got 7 really healthy employees. It doesn't change anything. You got 8 employees and the one you pulled off was really unhealthy and everybody else was healthy. Well, it'll drive down rates, or vice versa. So underwriting is based on the risk of everybody applying. So that's part of underwriting. People change their minds, and the underwriting retains the right to change the rate. So the Viewer 29, I just answered it. Viewer 5, you mentioned the enrollment period at the beginning of the call. Is there one for group? We can enroll all year long. First of the month, any month. Okay, we need to push invoices out by the 20th or 21st. So, set the deadline accordingly. Our deadline's going to be, we need them in on the 20th. 20th could be a Sunday, right? So the earlier you can set the deadline, I'm telling you that's our deadline for the first of the month. That doesn't mean you go to the employer and tell the employer that's the deadline, right? You should probably go tell the deadline the employer's the 10th, because the employers are always going to work on the deadline. This gets messy when we do things all at the deadline. Viewer 37. The spouse and dependent count towards the minimum threshold of 10. Great question. No, it does not. The threshold of 10 is employees applying. 10 employee households. Dependents are irrelevant. All right. Let's have some fun now. So, SBA. Why is the SBA here? Well, first of all, this is an exclusive build for USA Health Plan. It's an exclusive offering. And we're really excited about that fact. We've worked with the SBA for a number of years. We've just over the last year just taken, these types of plans and really refined them to design plans that are going to be highly successful for you in the field, that are much more sellable and have more application. So SBA plans are all guaranteed issue. And so plan type 2, again, MVP, and then plan type 3 was core health, okay? So on these, really where MVP applies is for groups that can't afford major medical, for groups that get rated their renewals too high, or they get declined for major medical, groups that maybe major medical is just too expensive for their employees, whatever the case may be. MVP is also really good for groups that don't currently have coverage, right? We just spent a half an hour talking about underwriting on major medical. And major medical is it's a necessity, but it can, there's a little bit of work to it because of underwriting, right? So when you're going into employer groups, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever, and there's no major medical in place whatsoever, my recommendation for you is to start with MVP and solve the problem today. It's guaranteed issue. The rates are the rates. Whoever goes into the checkout cart goes on the list bill. Whoever doesn't want it comes off the list bill, right? And I tell you that because, go look in the chat box, all the questions about underwriting. What if we add somebody later? What if we take somebody off? It changes the rates. Well, then all these other employees got to make a decision because the rate's different. Guaranteed issue, MVP, is so easy that when you are looking at a group that's currently not insured, this would be my go-to every time. Now, maybe down the road, the group wants to then later move to major medical, and that's totally fine. You don't buy health insurance for permanent. There's no permanent solution to health insurance. Health insurance is always a one-year situation, right? Maybe next year, let's go to major medical. Because you try to go to underwriting and you send in 10 apps and then all of a sudden it turns into 4, and then it's like, you're just doing all this work. And the employer has the employer has a good intention to provide benefits, but they don't realize how much work they're setting themselves up for underwriting, right? So I would go in with MVP, install it, then we know how many employees are actually interested in having benefits, and then we can do something else later. Or maybe we don't need to do anything else. Maybe MVP solves their problem. So what is MVP? First of all, MVP stands for Minimum Value Plan. So question in the chat box about the employer mandate, penalty A and penalty B. MVP solves for penalty A and penalty B. MVP is what is defined as a minimum value plan under the Affordable Care Act. That is the minimum value definition of health insurance or qualified health insurance by the Affordable Care Act. All right. So where I see a lot of application for MVP, it's groups 4 to 20, and it's groups 50 plus. right? You start getting into that 20 to 50 zone, you find a lot of major medical. Not to say that MVP will not apply there. I'm just telling you the sweet spots are 4 to 20, 50 plus. Cool. So let's look at the MVP benefits. I'm going to pull this generic outline. This is by no means a summary of benefits as stated on here. This is generic outline, so you can just kind of see the differences between them. First of all, you may notice if you've been with us for some time, these plans look very similar to our EASE plans that we used to have, right? But we still have quite a few members insured on them. They're just no longer available for new enrollments. But these plans are modeled very similar to that. That's because this is the MVP structure. One key difference we have in this MVP plan over most MVP plans is that this actually runs on First Health. There is no reference-based pricing in these MVP plans. You know, I have been, working with MVP plans since really they started under the Affordable Care Act. To not have an MVP or to have an MVP that doesn't use reference-based pricing, I am telling you, is hard for me to tell you how big of a deal that is. It is such a big deal because when you have reference-based pricing, providers are not obligated to accept a plan. But reference-based pricing will pay anyone, but that doesn't mean the provider is going to accept it, right? And that's where a network contract is so important, is because network enforces the provider to take the employer-sponsored plan. So this does run on First Health. No deductible. MVP is a copay-driven plan. So when you look through these, you look at bronze, if you go to the hospital, you pay a $1,500 copay for the hospital. And then the MVP plan pays 100% of the hospitalization for the first 5 days. Day 6, you're out of luck. Unless you were in the silver plan, and you would have paid a $1,000 copay for the first 7 days. And the plan would have paid 100%. Day 8, you would have been out of luck. Unless you were in the gold plan. Then the plan would have paid 100% for the first 10 days. At day 11, you'd be out of luck. Unless you added the extension benefits. Because if you added the extension benefits that we have for MVP, it would have added 365 days of hospitalization. So for a whopping $41.50 a month, day 6 on the bronze, now you have 365 days of hospitalization coverage. If you were on the silver, it covers hospitalization 100% in the first 7 days. Day 8, $38. Now you have 365 days of hospitalization coverage, right? Or $76 on a family. That's kind of a no-brainer. Wouldn't you agree? Kind of a no-brainer. So when I'm talking about these groups 2 to 20 that are really a sweet spot for MVP, or these groups that are getting declined for major medical and you got nowhere to place them, or they're getting rated too high and you got nowhere to place them, MVP is the answer. And in these groups 2 to 20, MVP plus the extension is really kind of a no-brainer. Where you're going to see a lot of MVP by itself is really going to be the groups 50 plus who are just using this as a penalty exemption. So we'll look at that in rates here in just a second. But going back to the MVPs, we're really excited about those extension benefits because that solves a lot of concern members may have on hospitalization. So everything again is copay driven. Maternity, $1,000 copay pays for the maternity 100%. So, when you're looking at these, those of you who've been with us, you look at these and you say, well, Jacob, on those EASE plans, the copays were lower. True. On the EASE plans, the copays were lower. The price was also higher for the plan, as you'll see in a sec, but it was also reference-based pricing, and you can't quantify reference-based pricing to network. When you look, because you could look at a $350 copay on an MVP plan with reference-based pricing, but the member gets balance bill of $800 somewhere. So then what was the copay? Well, it was unknown. It was $350 plus an $800 balance bill. That doesn't happen with network. So the copays are designed for that reason. So where was I going to go on this? Look at a rate sheet here. Groups 4 to 49. Again, this is guaranteed issue. Here are their rates. So bronze 446, family 867. Groups 50 to 59, 399. Groups 100 plus, 369. Again, on this call, there's been a lot of mention about penalty A and penalty B in groups 50 plus. Someone would have to Google it right now. I'm not sure exactly what the 2025 penalties are, but I'm pretty sure penalty A and penalty B combined are about, I think it's 5,800. Could be 52. I think it's been 52 in the past. Penalty A is the small one. Penalty B is the big one, right? MEC solves for penalty A. MVP solves for penalty A and penalty B. Penalty B is the big one that'll hurt the employer, and it's hard for them to see. So this is 360. What's 5,800 a year? 5,800 a year divided by 12. Oh, that's odd. That's $483 a month an employee. If the penalty, again, if someone will have to fact check me here, if the penalty is $5,800 per year for penalty A and penalty B, then you turn that into a monthly premium, and that's $483 a month. So if the penalty is $483 a month, then the employer realistically could just make that zero, couldn't they? They sure could. So that makes it really easy to install and solve for penalty A and penalty B. Now, you want to go to underwriting and do major medical later, that's fine. You can do it. But if you're going into a group and you have no idea, and there's no one in the group insured, to go to underwriting, there's just no reason for all of us to waste our time. Go install MVP. Let's come back, and we could look at a different plan later. But I'm going to tell you, this solves so many problems in the large group, and this solves so many problems in the small group, right? Because underwriting can be really tough on a lot of small groups. You take that group of 8 that a viewer mentioned earlier. One person, let's say one person's on a Humira. That one specialty drug could decline the entire group. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe the group just comes in rated, but what if there's one other employee on a specialty drug? Probably definitely going to decline the entire group, right? So underwriting is really tough on these small groups. MVP, guaranteed issue, easy for you to go with. I do want to talk about drugs on the MVP plan. Unlike other MVP plans that are out there that are really just a glorified discount card, this is true coinsurance on the drugs. $0 for generic. The plan pay on silver. The plan's paying 70%. The member is paying 30%. For tier 2 drugs, for brand name drugs, and non-preferred brand name on the silver plan, the plan is paying 70%. The member is paying 30%. Now, drugs do have a $500 a month cap per drug. But that's a lot of spend. Most of the time you're not going to exceed $500 a month on a drug until you get to the specialty RX. What we find is a lot of employees, because they're somewhere in that, $30,000 to $80,000 range. A lot of employees in that $30,000 to $80,000 range, if the plan doesn't cover specialty RX, most of them get those drugs for free from the manufacturer. So not a terrible issue there. So, but that's part of it. So what do I want to look at next here? Drug formula. This plan is so transparent, so easy. I mean, here's the drugs. Tells you right here. Well, we hope nobody's using Narcan. That's a bad one, right? Tier 2. Tier 3, right? So up to Tier 4 is included. So that is really transparent. Network is First Health. Search the network. You have nice, the SBA has really done a great job of putting together nice brochures for us. Those of you who've been with us for a long time, all of these plans are, either on a ERISA group or they're on an ACA alternative chassis, and they don't come with these nice fancy brochures that United Healthcare and the state filed plans have, right? So to have a nice brochure is it's pretty cool. So this is all in there. It's got the different plan designs, got the rates. You can kind of look at this in your own time. Got the 50 plus rates, all that's in there. If you do want to produce a nice proposal for the employer, you can type in the employer's name, the information. You can add the number of employee onlys, spouse, all that stuff, and this will produce a really nice, custom. I should go back. It'll produce a really nice custom proposal, MVP proposal for the employer. So everyone works a little bit different. Some people work from a rate sheet. Some people work from, actual proposals. Both of those options are there for you. At the end of the day, we just want you to be able to click and roll and go forward. And that's really kind of how we built this thing. So, when someone can look at what we have posted here and make a decision, right? And that's the benefit of guaranteed issue. So, again, MVP plans, they are guarantee issue. Requirement, they do require 4 households, a minimum of 4 households. The required participation is 70% in groups 40 to 49, 4 to 49, and a 60% participation in groups 50 plus. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's probably being typed in the chat box right now. That is high participation. We're never going to hit that. Yeah, you will. Approved employee waivers are removed from the participation requirement. All right? What does that mean? Approved waivers are approved for employees on Medicare, because the plan stops at 65, employees on TRICARE, Medicaid, and other employer-sponsored major medical coverage. Okay? So that means if you have a group of 10 full-time employees, which we're going to verify full-time because the employer is going to send us a 941 at install. And let's say 3 employees waive for other coverage. This means you would need to get 70% of the remaining 7 employees, which means you would need to get 5 of the remaining 7 employees. And if the employer can't get 5, then maybe the employer needs to just tweak their contribution up a little bit and get the 5th. So don't let this scare you. I know that I have these agents on the call, our Philadelphia American and our U.S. Health Advisors. I shouldn't say we have any U.S. Health Advisors agents on the calls. I know that there are a lot of you that get referrals from these agents. These plans will not be accepted or approved for waivers, and that's because these plans underwrite each employee individually, and all you'd be doing is throwing all the claims on us and them taking none of the claims, and that blows up the plan, and that's not how this works, right? So those will not be accepted. Just want to be upfront. Okay, this plan is not designed for that strategy. Let's look at Core Health and then go from there. So Core Health, guaranteed issue. Pre-existing conditions are covered in the first $20,000 of the base benefit with no waiting periods. 24-month pre-X will apply to benefits 20,000 plus. Now I'm going to pull up the plan summary here in a minute, but I've thrown a lot at you, and I want to take a step back here before we go into Core Health. Like I said, there's 3 product types: major medical, MVP, Core Health. Okay. Major medical I think we know where that applies. It's for the groups that who already have major medical or who are hell-bent on obtaining major medical. Okay? MVP is for the groups that can't afford major medical. Underwriting's just going to be too tough. That don't currently have benefits. Underwriting is going to be tough on you, right? Where the core health applies is if the groups, best way I could say this is if major medical is not a good fit and the group can't meet this 70% participation, less waivers, that's when I would go to core health. Because on average, the MVP plan is going to provide more benefit to the employer and the employee, right? So core health would be the next level down, in my opinion, of where you should go if you can't fit the group in the major medical box or the MVP box. We come to the core health box. So let's look at a summary of benefits here. We'll look at core health D. Ooh, I didn't mean to do that. Let's look at, sorry. It's my first day. Let's look at the actual brochure. Kind of outlines it a little bit better. Okay. So the core health plans, we just looked at the MVP plans that were purely copay driven, right? Well, the core health plans, there still is no deductible, but the core health plans are co-insurance driven. They're not copay driven, right? So the only copays in the plan are for primary care physicians. You got 3 visits at a $20 copay. Everything else is subject to co-insurance. Has anybody been here long enough to remember the Freedom plans? All right, this is a modification of the Freedom plans. You're looking at it. So everything else is subject to co-insurance. Preventative's covered 100%. Here's how it works. The first $20,000 of medical expenses, the base benefit, the first $10,000 of medical expenses are covered at 50%. The next $10,000 of medical expenses are covered at 80%, $20,000. So if you have a $20,000 claim, the first $10,000 of that claim, you pay $50, the insurance company pays $50, or the co-op pays $50. For the claim expense $10,001 through $20,000, the plan's going to pay 80% and you're going to pay 20%. And for the medical expenses that exceed $20,000, the plan will then pay 100% up to $130,000. Right? So it's a $130,000 benefit. The co-insurance is just tiered. So if someone's this is why I say you go MVP before you go core, because let's say you had a $10,000 surgery. The plan would pay 50% and you would pay 50%. But let's say you had a $10,000 surgery on MVP. You would pay $500. The plan would pay $9,500. So while there's instances where the core plans can outperform the MVP plans, you kind of go through this. The MVP plans on average are going to outperform the core plans, right? That's why I say in order, it's major medical, then to MVP. If you can't get in the MVP box, you come down to the core box, okay? Also, the first $20,000 covers pre-existing conditions day one. The enhanced benefits for claims 20,000 plus, there is a 24-month wait for pre-X. So let's go back to that conversation about large group, penalty A, penalty B. We do not use this plan in large group. This plan does not meet minimum value. It meets MEC, right? Minimum essential coverage, which just means you have to cover preventative 100%. Yes, this plan would solve for penalty A, but it does not solve for penalty B. Therefore, this plan would not make sense to run in a large group setting. So that's why you would use MVP. So going back to We're getting way too much open here. Here are the core health rates. Where does core health apply? You know, there are participation requirements here on MVP. There are no participation requirements on core health. You just need to have a minimum of 10 households. So, you know, now this gets into if there's other plans within the group that you're writing, you know, we're not managing participation. This plan is built, you know, to be a non-participation plan. You just have to have a minimum of 10 employees. So that's where, if you can't meet participation in MVP, you would migrate down to core health. And really, within that framework of those three plan types, you will find a plan that fits just about every employer group out there. The employer groups that we would be missing in this model would be the next platform that we'll push forward in the next month or so, where we're going after the low spend, just purely MEC, just purely you know, some office visit benefits, stuff like that for groups that just aren't in the business of providing a full-blown, you know, plan, right? So enrollment. Let's go back. Go back. All right, steps. All you got to do is click the enroll button here. This is not just like a submission, because on the major medical, you're actually doing a submission, right? Because we're going to go to underwriting and all that stuff. No, if you're clicking the enroll button here, we're moving forward because the employer knows this is guaranteed issue, and the employer knows that, you know, we're moving forward, and so do we. So you're going to click the enroll button, and you're going to enroll the employer into a $0 list bill creation, right? This is going to tell us, what option are you going with? Are you going with the MVP standard, no extension? Are you going with the MVP plans with extension benefits? Or are you going with Core Health D? Or are you going with Core Health E? Right? This needs 10. This goes down to 4 households. We just need 70% participation, less waivers. Same, down to 4 households, less 70% participation, less waivers. Now, if you're going to have the extension benefits that we looked at, that decision occurs at the employer level. It has to be placed on all employees, right? We can't go into, it's not voluntary. You know, we don't go into a group and say, okay, employee 1 wants, you know, bronze, and employee 2 wants bronze plus extension. That doesn't work. The extension benefits are placed on all employees. And one thing I forgot to mention about MVP, regardless of group size, it doesn't matter. All 3 MVP plans are available. So you got a group of 5. Okay, 2 could be on bronze, 2 could be on silver, 1 could be on gold. Totally fine. If you're going to offer the extension benefits, if the 2 went on bronze, there'll be 2 bronze plus extension, 2 silver plus extension, 1 gold plus extension. See what I'm saying? You either have extension listed on all of the MVP plans, or there's no extension. When you look at it, talk to most employers, I think you're going to find that, especially in these groups 2 to 20, where you're just going to see a lot of MVP, that extension benefit is kind of a no-brainer. Where you're going to start seeing MVP without extension is really going to be those groups 50 plus, 100 plus, where again, the employer is just really trying to get out of the penalty box. You know, maybe you have some that are willing to provide the extra benefit to their employees, and we can add it there. But I think you'll find most 50 plus are going to ride no extension. So anyways, how do we enroll? Let's click enroll, see what happens. All right, this is a new screen. You haven't seen that checkout function yet, right? Okay, whoa, there's all this stuff that's automatically preloaded in the shopping cart. You just need to take out the plans that you don't want. All right, I'll go ahead and do this one here because this one just says remove from the cart. So that's a gimme. And don't worry, you can't screw this up because if you click continue, I've already set the parameters, you're blocked. You can't. Okay, you can only move forward with one option. So if you're wanting to go forward with MVP plus extension, which is probably going to be the bulk of your sales, and especially in small group, you're going to remove the standard. You're going to remove D. You're going to remove E. You're going to click continue. And you're going to go to the shopping cart. And you're going to fill out the employer information, EIN, all that stuff, right? Total number of full-time employees, throw it down here. And just give us the approximate amount of employees. This is, again, just so we can help manage this with you on the back so we know approximately how many employees we're looking for this group to close out. As everybody gets busier and busier, we're your back end to kind of help you and be like, hey, we got 19, you told us 20, these are the 19 we got. We can all just move quicker, faster. So anyway, employer's bank information, same process as individual, type in their cell phone number, their email address, and you'll send them the list bill authorization to sign off on. As soon as the employer signs off on the list bill authorization, that's where we're, again, going to create a group-specific enrollment link. Oh, man. Of course. That's where we'll create, within 2 business days, we'll create a group-specific enrollment link, and that'll have the MVP plans or the D plans, whatever you chose, it'll have them on there, and then you're going to go take that link and enroll all the employees. It's that simple. Cool. All right, I talked about a whole lot. I'm going to answer a few questions, and then we're going to go straight into compensation, and then we will wrap this thing up. Viewer 37. No, we're on Michelle. Are the no-sell states firm if we have a client in a no-sell state, or can you add that state? Michelle, that's a great question. So right here are the identified no-sell states, and this applies to the state that the company is domiciled in. So if the state's in Missouri, where I'm at, and the employees are in New York, it doesn't matter. We're going off of Missouri. That's where the company is at. Doesn't matter where the employee is at. Michelle, great question, though. We can add states. The only reason that we have these listed as no-sale states right now is just the mechanism within our system, because there's no licensing there. We don't have agents there. We don't have demand there. There's no reason for our system and us to take on the cost until someone's there. So we've got agents coming out in those areas. We got groups in those areas. Let's talk. We'll add it. We can go. Those have been, we added Wyoming recently, so Wyoming has fallen off of that list. Hopefully that helps you. Let's see. 37. So there's a max out of pocket, but that doesn't apply if there are additional limits to hospital days. Viewer 37. Going back to MVP, great question. We'll look at the generic outline here. This is a little easier to look at. So when you're looking at a max out of pocket, this means the max you can pay out of pocket for covered services, right? Everything outlined below is a covered service within the allowable days. So, for example, you go to the hospital. You're in the hospital for 5 days. You paid a $1,500 copay. That was a covered service. Your $1,500 copay would apply to the $8,000 max out of pocket. Day 6, which is not covered by the plan on bronze, is not a covered service. So the cost that would occur on day 6, let's say it's $2,000 for the hospitalization that day, that $2,000 from day 6 would not apply to the max out of pocket because that is not a covered service. Okay, really, the annual out-of-pocket maximum, it's really a little bit confusing. This is really more of ACA language. Minimum value has to have a max out-of-pocket expense. That's what makes it minimum value. It's part of it. Right? A minimum value plan cannot limit coverage. It can only limit the number of days you provide coverage. Right? So that's why on an MVP plan, we can limit the amount of days. We can say the plan only has 5 days of hospitalization, but the plan cannot limit benefit within those 5 days. It has to be covered 100%. So I know I said that a couple different ways. I hope that helped answer your question. Again, a great way to solve for that is to look at the extension benefits, which will add a $2,000 a day benefit starting on day 6. And that'll pay $2,000 a day for up to 365 days. Viewer 9. In regards to the ACA family dependents, is MVP considered a qualified health plan offering group coverage? Asking so I know if an employee can deny coverage because of a better rate for subsidy on the ACA. Viewer 9. Great question. MVP is a qualified health plan. Satisfies Penalty A and Penalty B. It is the minimum value of health insurance defined by the Affordable Care Act. If an employee waives MVP coverage, they cannot go get a subsidy. They either take the employer's plan that's offered or they go pay full price for the ACA. Right? Because that's why MVP is in place. Because if it was just a MEC plan, then the employee could still go to Marketplace and get a subsidy. And then when the IRS figured out that that employee went to the Marketplace and got a subsidy, that's how the IRS triggers Penalty B, which is like $3,000 or $4,000 to the employer because they make the employer pay for that subsidy. So no, when MVP is installed, that solves Penalty B, and that solves the employer's obligation to be on the hook for an employee getting a subsidy. So the employee cannot go to the Marketplace and get a subsidy. If you haven't engaged in group before, don't let everything we're talking about today lose you or confuse you. You know, there's different dynamics in groups 50 plus than there is small group. There's a big opportunity in groups 50 plus. There's an even bigger opportunity in groups 2 to 20. There just is. There's so much. There's great margins there for everybody. It's underserved. No one's talking to these groups. These groups are getting declined. Some of these major medical rates are coming back $800 and $900 a month from other carriers, stuff like that, or they get declined. You know, and actually, you know, last thing I want to say about plans right before we go into compensation. Actually, I do want to pull this up. It also solves a lot of problems for employers, because let's look at an employer of 2 to 9, right? And I get it. The MVP rate was what, 464, and the major medical rate could be 587, could be $75 less, could be $75 more. They could get declined, and then you have to have MVP, right? But just because this is 587, and although major medical, I mean, it's the Rolls Royce, right? It's as good as it gets. It's unlimited coverage. You know, pretty much everything that's FDA approved has to be covered to infinity and beyond, right? But it is costly, right? It's not just about the rate, because although that's $587 a month, where major medical is going to thrive, you got those employer groups that are $60,000 to $90,000 income earners, $60,000 to $100,000 income earners. Sure, they're looking at that going, my employer pays 50%, so I'm paying $250 a month, $300 a month, I don't know, $3,000 to $4,000 a year in premium, and I got a $7,300 deductible. Yeah, someone that's making $100,000 a year, all right, I get it, that's fine. My exposure is capped at $10K. All right, well, let's go talk to the employee that's making $40,000, and the employer's is going to try to pay 50% of major medical, and that employee making $40,000 has got to spend $3,000, $4,000 a year in premium. You almost lost them right there, almost. But where you're definitely going to lose them is when you say $7,350, because then they're going to look at that and go, wait, what? You know, they don't understand that. Why would I pay that kind of money to still have to pay that kind of money, right? And so when you get into, it's not only about smaller group, it's also about these groups that have, you know, if you're going into groups with employee household that are making $60,000 and less, MVP becomes real attractive when you can go to the employee and say, okay, of course this is $464 a month. You're paying $220 a month, and if you have a surgery, $750, or it's $500, right? Now you're speaking their language. They can relate to $500. It can't relate to $7,000. The other thing to look at is the family premium. Okay, as an employer, employers are here to offer benefits. You know, what makes the most sense as a benefit? You know, you're trying to retain employees and offer a benefit. If you're going into a group, again, income earners, 60, 70, 80, $100,000, there's a bunch of, you know, employee onlys, not a lot of dependents. Sure. You go into a group that's, you know, $40,000 to $60,000, which is right about average, and they got dependents, and now you're going to tell the $50,000 income earner that the employer is going to pay $200 or $300 a month, and you got to pay $1,300 a month or $15,000 a year in premium, and then you got to pay a $7,000 deductible on you and a $7,000 deductible on your spouse. You add that up, that's like $35,000. You make 50, and I want you to pay all this money, and you still got to pay. You're going to pay $35,000 out of pocket if something goes wrong. That's again where, you know, as an employee, for them to be able to come in. Let me go here. For an employee to come in and be able to get their whole family insured at $800, because the employers, let's say, is paying $200, $250, $300, and now they're paying $500 a month instead of $1,300, and you're telling them that their surgery costs $500, not $7,000, right? There's just a lot of application there. Oh, man, I almost forgot. Almost forgot. I have one more plan. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry to do this to you. I won't spend a lot of time on it. But it falls within the 3 product types. What do you do when you come across a group that has 1099 contractors? Because if I didn't say it earlier, we're talking W-2 group. So what happens when you come across 1099 contractors? Let me give you an example. You've got a trucking company who's got 10 in-house employees, 10 W-2 office employees, and you got 90 1099 truckers. Those are 2 entirely different classes, aren't they? Okay. Well, for the W-2s, we could use major medical for those 10. We could use MVP. We could use the core health. Again, I'd recommend MVP or major medical in those instances. But what do we do about the 1099 contractors, truckers? Value bronze, SBA. This is a guaranteed issue, individual policy for 1099 contractors. Now, we'll still list bill it to the employer, right? So if you got 10 employees on major medical and you got 90 1099 contractors on the value bronze, we'll still list bill all of that together and send it to the employer. But this is how you can go in and grab those 1099s. It's value bronze. And I won't spend a lot of time here because the value bronze, well, I cannot call it MVP because it doesn't meet the true definition of MVP. Boy, oh boy, is it structured almost identically. So it really falls in those 3 product types. This is just an MVP plan with waiting periods for pre-existing conditions. So a true MVP plan cannot have a waiting period for pre-existing. So it's not MVP, but it's the same framework plus a pre-X for emergency, maternity, hospital, right? Your office visits, all that stuff. There's no pre-X on office visits and specialty and all that stuff, right? Copays are a little bit higher. It's still the First Health Network. Everything's the same that we already talked about. Rates are just a little bit different because it's individual. Cool. So that really solves, really almost every dynamic in the group space other than that MEC and small, inexpensive non-insurance benefits, which we'll talk about on a different day because the bulk of the industry is falling right here. So, all right, I've talked enough about plans. I see another question or two. I want to come back to that in a minute. Real quick, I do want to show you we posted a new live doc. So if you log into your agent back office and you go to your resource section, our whole platform is moving to LiveDoc. I don't know why it took me 8 years to figure out to do a LiveDoc model, but it's going to change the way all of us can work together in real time. So even some of these PDFs that you're downloading, we're going to move those to LiveDocs. You know, that way we can update stuff in real time. And if you're using the LiveDoc, then you never have to worry about, oh, I went and I'm looking at an old doc, you know. So come to the back office, get the new comp grid. The new comp grid is on a LiveDoc. And all of your comp is outlined here for all of the plans. So this is going to be updated in real time. As we add plans, the comp will be added in here. You know, if comp changes on plans in the future because plans reprice, which only affects future enrollments, then you'll see the updated compensation in real time. So on the major medical, if it's sold on an individual basis, that's for tomorrow's call. It's right here. Groups 2 to 9, here's your compensation. Your producer comp is $70 per household. Member spouse is $90. Family's $100. In groups 10 to 49, again, we all shave our fees on 10 plus. Why? Well, because we're not spending the kind of time that we're spending in groups 2 to 9 because we're underwriting completely different from a census. But 2, we start getting into those volume plays where we've got to make sure the plan's competitive. You know, if we all try to make, you know, top margins, then we're like not going to close as many groups, just how it is, right? So that is groups 10 to 49 and groups 50 plus. SBA plans, value bronze, those 1099 contractors. There you go, right there. The extension benefits. There you go. The MVP plans, groups 40 to 49, you know, somewhere between $60 and $95 a month level per employee, all level comp, right? Groups 50 to 99, and then groups 100 plus over here. 100 plus, these are spreadsheet enrollments. 50 plus, a lot of times 50 plus are spreadsheet enrollments. So, you know, it gets a lot easier. Core Health D, Core Health E, they're right here, right? So you have your producer comp, which is what you make, and then you have every product has, you know, 3 levels of overrides, which is what we pay you for marketing. That's for you bringing us other agents, plugging them into our platform model. What's unique about our platform is that everybody gets the same producer comp. Everybody. Not that you're coming in underneath somebody and they're cutting your compensation because you're under them. Everybody gets the same deal. The person above you and the person below you. And then we pay everybody overrides 3 levels deep. So let's look at the MVP, right? You write the MVP personally. Let's call it the MVP Silver. You're making $75 per household. On employee only, you're making $125. Let's say you brought you brought me to USA Health Plans. When I write the Silver, I make $75, or I would make $125, right? But when I wrote the Silver and I make $75, now since you sponsored me or recruited, however you want to say that, you'll make a $7 override off of my production, right? And well, let's say I go bring Steve to USA Health Plans. When Steve writes the Silver plan, he makes $75. And then since I personally sponsored or recruited Steve, I would make the $7. And since Steve is indirect to you on your level 2, you would make $3. Okay, so that's built into every product. Now, there are some of you that recruit for a living and that's all you do and that's your business model, and awesome. Keep it up. And then there's some of you that have never recruited before, and that's fine. You can go produce. But that opportunity is there for you to to bring on and build an organization with us. Because what I want you to see from our platform, in closing, is this. This is the wrong one. Yep. I really want you to start viewing it as your business hub and not viewing us as a product. Why? Because there's so many ways that you can perpetually earn income within our hub. Whether you're personally producing, and maybe you personally produce enough to, I just screwed that up. Oh no, maybe you personally produce enough to where, you get top producer comp, right? Everyone gets 75, but once you hit qualifications, we're just going to bump up your production, so now you get paid as a top producer, right? That doesn't happen when you're just underneath other people. Like, we're going to reward everybody. We're going to reward you for building an organization. We're going to pay you comp. We're going to reward you for producing. We're going to pay you more comp. You want to see the top producer qualifications? Click right there at the top. In group, we need 75 households enrolled to qualify for top producer comp on these products. Just need a minimum of 7 groups. Right there. Once you hit that, we'll begin paying you 85 on all of your active households instead of 75. There's questions about that, type it in the chat box. I don't want to lose my thought here, because where I want you to look at us as a hub is there's just so many different ways that you can earn income, but not only just, it's diversified as well. Because you're making money selling individual plans yourself. You're making money selling group plans yourself. When, let's say, a group starts at MVP and they move to major medical, well, we got all the data in the system. We just push a button. Right, we got 15 employees. Well, we already got the name, address, phone number, social, gender, date of birth. We don't even need socials for census-based underwriting, right? We can just push it and export it and go to underwriting. Instead of you having to do all this work to go try to take a group somewhere else. Or what if your group's on major medical now and the renewal comes in, it's so high they can't afford it? Or what if they're not offered coverage in the future? Because that's also part of major medical group. Groups get declined. They don't pull sometimes. There's no offers. You're scrambling, you're going out, you're trying to find where to place the business, or we can just press a button and we just move them to MVP. So I want you to see that for just not only yourself as the hub, for your ability to manage your business in the future, but for agents that you're bringing to USA Health Plans, their ability to do that continuously will generate all these transactions for you in residual income. Overrides is a long-term income, right? My advice to you, produce and recruit. Produce and recruit. But don't spend all of your time recruiting. Spend the bulk of your time producing and finding recruits, because the residual aspect from overrides will just naturally grow over the years. And one thing that's good about our platform is, while I love all the plans we have today, those of you who have been with us for 8 years know that these plans weren't here 8 years ago. Those of you who've been with us for 8 years knows that most of these plans weren't here 4 years ago. Okay? We don't know what plans are going to be here in 4 years. Health insurance is the Wild West. It's a chaotic market. And where there's chaos, there's opportunity. The benefit of you using USA Health Plans as your benefits hub is your ability to always have these types of industry-leading products and offerings at your fingertips as they come online, and your ability to press a button and move people to them, right? Because, hey, EBA may be great now, but 5 years from now or 3 years from now, maybe it's not. This is such a competitive market. Someone else is going to come along, and you're going to need to move them to them. And so we can make your life and your business a lot easier the more that you see us as that hub and our ability to do that. So anyways, that's all I had for today. Wow, this call went long. I'm really sorry. Is what it is. There's a lot here, but this is such a big opportunity, and this thing is so built for speed for you just to be able to plug and play, and go, and not spend all this time getting bogged down on groups. For you to be able to walk into the groups and say, you know, that's the deal. Or for you to be able to walk into the group, you know, and say, that's the deal. Press the button and move forward. You can make a lot of money. So, all right. We will get this recording out. Everyone that registered will get a copy of this recording. Tomorrow, we're going to send it with the individual recording to everybody as well. But, you know, certainly tune in for the individual call tomorrow. And we'll keep doing these and driving these as we go through open enrollment. And you know, this process is going to get refined a bit as we go, but you know, certainly it's a big step up from where we've been. So thanks a lot. Have a good day.